We invite you, if you dare, to explore an attraction unlike any other. An attraction that has had guests plummeting to their doom for over 20 years around the world. The Tower of Terror has become a staple to Disney theme park identity, being as iconic as Mickey ears, or long wait times for Flight of Passage. The Tower of Terror first opened its doors on July 22nd, 1994, and currently resides in 4 Disney parks across the globe. Well, 3. Sorry, California. However, how did such an iconic attraction become a part of so many Disney parks? And where did the idea of Imagineers plummeting guests into their doom start from? You probably didn't know that the original idea for this attraction was actually first intended to debut in Disneyland Paris, and the exterior was originally planned to be a bit more volcanic than you'd expect. Stay tuned to learn more on the history of this iconic attraction, as today we'll take you directly into the Twilight Zone. Like many things in Disney history, the Tower of Terror all started with one man and a dream. No, not that one.
Today we're talking about former Disney CEO Michael Eisner. This bad mamma jamma took the company by storm in 1984 and only had one goal in mind: getting teenagers interested in Disney parks. This man was so obsessed with boosting Disney park attendance, he was greenlighting any project Imagineers placed in his path. You got a replica of Epcot for California? Boom! Greenlit. Hey! Is that an Indiana Jones themed expansion? Boom! Double greenlit. You know what teens would love? A Bugs Life themed expansion, that's what! All aboard the money train! Choo choo!
However, out of all of Eisner's passion projects, there was one that stood out from the rest, and that was Euro Disneyland, known now as Disneyland Paris. Eisner and the Disney company predicted that this park would be a massive success, and prior to its opening had already announced plans for a $3 billion expansion featuring the park's second gate, a Paris equivalent to Disney's MGM studio set to open in 1996. Amidst the Imagineers' plans for a future expansion was a free-fall drop ride designed in Disneyland Paris' Discovery Bay. Disney Imagineers were overall impressed by the introduction of free-fall drop rides that were introduced years prior at numerous Six Flags theme parks. Disney Imagineers were dedicated to develop a free-fall attraction using similar ride mechanics. Thus, the idea of a volcano-themed attraction was born. The volcano attraction, otherwise known as Discovery Mountain, would be based off Jules Verne's novel Journey to the Center of the Earth, because Eisner knew how much teens dug the Verne. Discovery Mountain would transport guests inside an active volcano. As the mountain erupts, guests would be hurled up the elevator shaft and immediately dropped through the lagoon for a safe landing. Despite a large range of public backlash from the people of France, Disney stood confident with their decision. As former Euro Disneyland CEO Robert Fitzpatrick commented, "Our only fear is that we'll make too much money." Yeah, that didn't happen. While there's no denying the effort and dedication that went into designing Euro Disneyland, sadly the level of crowds were far from what was anticipated, as only 25,000 people showed up to the park's grand opening. Due to Euro Disneyland's low attendance numbers, Eisner had to slash upcoming projects across the board. As he said, "We had a very big investment in Europe, and it's difficult to deal with. I don't know whether a private company can ever spend this kind of money." Sadly, Discovery Mountain was scrapped, and later replaced with a newer rendition of Space Mountain, but the idea of a free-fall attraction wasn't entirely lost, as Imagineers and Eisner were dedicated to bring a more thrilling attraction into the Disney parks. Meanwhile, Disney World's newly opened MGM Studios was a massive success. According to park surveys, guests loved the idea of a studio theme park, but many desired more attractions and activities. Disney's MGM Studios opened as Disney World's smallest park by far, as the park's main attractions were the Backlot Studio Tour and the Great Movie and the Great Movie Ride, a classic timeless piece of Disney Imagineering that will never ever warrant a cheap update. Soon. Eisner and the Imagineers were preparing for the first rendition of Star Tours to open, but were already revving up for another expansion. They'd begun to explore the concept of a comedy-themed attraction, more specifically, one that was themed after the movie Airplane. The ride was described to exist in MGM Studio Backlot. The experience would come with thrills, jokes, and several prop airplanes designed for filming. However, this idea was dropped after the estimated cost for the attraction was $220 million. Thus, MGM began to break ground on Sunset Boulevard. Eisner, being the hip cat that he was, knew he wanted a horror-based attraction for this new expansion. Imagineers began to pitch potential horror properties to implement into the park, including using intellectual properties of Nightmare on Elm Street or the works of Stephen King. Many Imagineers found these properties were too scary to round in both teens and a younger audience at the same time. That's when the creative team began to discuss the idea of a horror comedy-themed attraction. And that's where Mel Brooks comes into play. Okay, stay with me here. The attraction would be called Hotel Mel, and it would keep in tune with MGM Studios' backlot tour theming. Guests would enter an elevator and be invited to watch a live set filming inside an abandoned hotel. Here, guests would watch classic Hollywood monsters in a more behind-the-scenes look, in line with Mel Brooks' comedic tone. However, the Imagineers couldn't get the theme of the attraction coherent. Many were confused if the monsters would be real and guests would be transported into the movie, or if the story would take place entirely in a behind-the-scenes aesthetic. Thus, Hotel Mel would be scrapped. Which is when they began to revisit an old idea for a freefall-based attraction, combining the abandoned Hollywood hotel idea with the thrill of a drop ride. Their first renditions of the Hollywood Hotel were born. Disney licensed the rights of Rod Serling's The Twilight Zone from CBS to incorporate into their attraction. I made this. You made this? I made this. A common misconception with the Tower of Terror is that your descent into the unknown is actually a literal freefall, when this isn't the case. Technically, you're not falling at all. Imagineers weren't satisfied with a simple freefall ride, as they wanted the drop to be faster than gravity itself.
Do you ladies like bingo?
Oh, yes.
Well then, here we are.
There's no game room here.
Bingo.
The Tower of Terror locks guests into its second elevator shaft as the ride actually pulls guests down at a faster rate than a traditional freefall, as this captures the sense of zero gravity that the ride is famous for. Whether this makes the tower more or less intimidating is up to you. You can't make me go on. Construction began in 1992 of the massive 199-foot Hollywood Tower Hotel. Fun fact, the Tower of Terror is Disney World's second tallest attraction, with Expedition Everest currently existing at 199.5 feet. If either of these attractions hits the 200-foot mark, airplane beacons would have to be installed. While the Tower of Terror is considered a Disney park icon, Mission Breakout has reminded us that even an icon can be renovated and updated to cater to a more modern audience. After all, Disney is all about change, and even the original tower can be turned into anything. Probably Elsa's Subway sandwiches, or something.
Do it, Iger! I dare you!
While we may not know how long the Tower of Terror will stay, you can always manage to drop on by to admire this incredible work of engineering, and to take a plunge into the Twilight Zone.